Supamural is a conceptual art project which has never been done before. It seeks to recreate scenes from classic video games using stencils and stop-motion photography. But this is more than just an art project, it's also a challenge. Computers have evolved rapidly in the past 20 years. The computers of today are now more than 150 times faster in processor speed, with 15,000 times as much random access memory than their predecessors. Processing speed and RAM have evolved tremendously. It makes still more amazing that game designers in the 80s were capable of creating the games they made considering these limitations. Screen resolution has improved immensely. On an old Nintendo game, you were able to get only 13 colors at a time. This was to fit in a 256 by 256 canvas, whereas today, a video game can have millions of colors on a screen with millions of pixels. The most basic level of any computer image, regardless of when it was created, is the pixel. It is a single colored square. The first single-person shooter was called Wolfenstein 3D. The same group later made Doom, which was followed by Quake. These were the ultra-violent games of the past. Call of Duty is now one of the most popular games on the planet. Hyperrealism is when something computer-generated looks more real than something in real life. Here's an actual tank in Syria. Note how adding pixelated 8-bit graphics takes away from the hyperrealism. There's something called conceptual art. That's where you create a set of plans for people to follow, meaning that you create not just an art project for yourself, but something that can be repeated by groups of others. The goal is to produce an educational film about video games, as well as to produce a conceptual art project for groups to recreate. It will contain original 8-bit graphics that people can identify. Files will be made so that these images can be cut out by a plotter cutter on sheets to be used as stencils. Participants will also learn about game design and game theory. For example, the Galaga ship is only 16 pixels by 16 pixels in 3 colors. The project goal is to reenact a scene from a classic video game, but the wall needs to be essentially programmed the same way the game is in order for the stop-motion video to work correctly. All parameters must be taken into consideration, from extracting graphics to cutting shapes to organizing the stencils. Classic video games are making the transition from retro to vintage right now as we speak. This won't be an easy task, however. It will involve lots of organizing and planning. For example, the frame of each object and the position of that image relative to its previous position must be carefully planned for every object on screen in order for the entire video to appear fully animated. Nothing beautifies a neighborhood like an 8-bit flying fish, and the minds of our youth today are trapped in some kind of guarded fortress. We must develop a strategy to bring them out into a safer environment. The project won't cost a fortune. $2,500 should be enough to get it done correctly. More funding will result in better work, certainly, but if there's enough support, we'll do more. Then, there's also some pretty cool rewards. We'd like to make these plans available to art teachers around the country, for teachers who are interested in creating something of the same caliber and quality. All you need are these instructions, and that's what conceptual art is. Let's educate kids and fight back against hyper-realistic, ultra-violent games with 8-bit classic memories of a time when life was simpler and games were still just as fun.